Welcome back to Random History. I'm your navigator as we explore the little-known events and people that make history such an amazing subject. The events I delve into are probably not the ones you learned about in school. These are the ones that when you do hear about them, you're likely to think that they could not possibly be real. But they are. Apple TV is currently running a miniseries called Masters of the Air. The program depicts the exploits of the 100th Bomb Group of the 8th Air Force. It's also known as the Bloody 100th. This all occurred during World War II. I've watched several of the episodes of the series, and the flying and action sequences are amazing. However, as with most drama series like this, some artistic license is taken with the historical aspects of the events depicted. Today, I hope to give a more accurate account of the events. For our true hero today, I'd like to present one of the squadron commanders of the Bloody 100th. The Bloody 100th Bomb Group, officially known as the 100th Bombardment Group Heavy, was one of the most storied and tragic units of the U.S. Army Air Forces during World War II. Assigned to the 8th Air Force, the group gained its nickname due to the extraordinary losses it sustained while flying missions over Nazi-occupied Europe. From its formation in 1942 to the end of the war in 1945, the 100th Bomb Group played a pivotal role in the Allied strategic bombing campaign, and its reputation is intertwined with both incredible acts of heroism and heartbreaking losses. The 100th Bomb Group was formed on 1 June 1942 at the Orlando Army Air Base in Florida. It consisted of 4 squadrons, the 349th, 350th, 351st, and the 418th Bomb Squadrons. The unit was equipped with the B-17 Flying Fortress, a 4-engine heavy bomber designed for long-range bombing missions. After training in the U.S., the group deployed to Thorpe Abbotts, a base in Norfolk, England, where it became part of the U.S. 8th Air Force, which oversaw the strategic bombing campaign against Germany. In June of 1943, the 100th flew its first combat mission. The group's initial missions were part of the growing American effort to target German industrial centers, transportation networks, and military installations. The B-17s typically flew in large formations designed to provide mutual defensive firepower against enemy fighters. However, the missions were fraught with danger. Luftwaffe fighters, flak from German anti-aircraft guns, all claimed heavy tolls on bomber crews. The nickname, Bloody 100th, originated from the devastating losses the group suffered on multiple missions, particularly in late 1943. One of the most significant and tragic events occurred during the infamous raids on the German cities of Münster and Bremen in October of that year. These raids were part of the Allied push to cripple Germany's industrial output and its ability to wage war. But the costs were very high. On 10 October 1943, the 100th Bomb Group participated in a mission to bomb Münster, a city in northwestern Germany. The mission turned into a disaster for the group. The 100th lost 12 of its 13 B-17s, a catastrophic 92% casualty rate for the day. The aircrew casualties were equally severe, with many men killed, wounded, or taken prisoners of war. Just a few days later, during a mission to Bremen, the group lost 7 more planes. These losses were a defining moment for the 100th, cementing its bloody reputation. Throughout the war, the 100th Bomb Group would sustain one of the highest loss rates among American bomber groups in the 8th Air Force. Its casualty rate became a point of both tragedy and grim pride. The men of the group knew that they were flying some of the most dangerous missions of the war, and each sortie into the skies over Germany meant they could be facing their last. One of the most significant operations in which the 100th participated was the Schweinfurt raids. Schweinfurt, located in Bavaria, was a crucial center for ball bearing production, an essential component in the manufacture of German tanks, aircraft, and other war machinery. The Allies reasoned that destroying these factories would cripple the German war effort. However, the raids on Schweinfurt were among the deadliest for American bombers. On 14 October 1943, the 100th Bomb Group took part in the second raid on Schweinfurt, a mission that became known as Black Thursday due to the staggering losses suffered by the 8th Air Force. Over 60 bombers were lost that day. and the 100th lost 5 of its aircraft. The operation highlighted the extreme dangers of daylight precision bombing, particularly when bombers had to fly without the protection of long-range fighter escorts. The Luftwaffe capitalized on these vulnerabilities, and the American bombers faced a relentless onslaught of enemy fighters and anti-aircraft fire. The losses sustained on these Schweinfurt raids were emblematic of the wider struggles faced by the strategic bombing campaign in its early stages. It wasn't until the introduction of the P-51 Mustang fighter, with its extended range, that American bombers received the escort protection they desperately needed to reduce their losses. Life for the airmen of the 100th Bomb Group was harsh and perilous. The air crews flew at high altitudes, often at over 25,000 feet, where temperatures could plummet to below minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit. The bombers were unpressurized, and the men had to wear oxygen masks and heavy clothing to protect themselves from the freezing cold. Despite these precautions, frostbite and hypoxia were constant dangers. The psychological toll on the men was immense. Each mission carried the ever-present risk of death or capture. Luftwaffe fighters and flak batteries were a constant threat, and many planes returned to base with massive holes from enemy fire. The B-17s, though known for their durability, were not invincible. Airmen who survived crash or bailout often find themselves behind enemy lines and were either killed or taken prisoner. Prisoners of war faced years of internment in German prison camps under harsh conditions, though some did manage to escape and rejoin Allied forces. Despite these dangers, the camaraderie and sense of duty among the men of the 100th were strong. The group developed its own unique culture and sense of identity. Each bomber crew gave their planes distinctive names, often with cartoonish or risque nose art, such as Hang the Expense, Royal Flush, and the Big Ass Bird. These symbols of individuality and bravado helped the men cope with the grim realities of war. Amid the heavy losses and grueling conditions, the 100th Bomb Group also saw extraordinary acts of heroism. Many of the group's members were awarded medals for their bravery and leadership under fire. One such hero was Robert Rosenthal, a pilot who became one of the group's most famous figures. Rosenthal flew 52 missions, an extraordinary number given the standard tour of duty was 25. He was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, Silver Star, and multiple Distinguished Flying Crosses for his actions. Rosenthal's most famous mission occurred on 3 February 1945 when he led a bombing raid on Berlin. Despite his plane being hit and catching fire, Rosenthal continued the mission, leading his formation to the target and successfully dropping their bombs. He and his crew managed to bail out and survive the mission. Rosenthal's leadership and determination became emblematic of the courage of the 100th Bomb Group. By the end of the war in 1945, the 100th Bomb Group had completed 306 missions and dropped over 19,000 tons of bombs on enemy targets. Despite heavy losses, the group played a crucial role in the destruction of Germany's industrial capacity, helping to pave the way for the eventual Allied victory in Europe. The group's final combat mission took place on 20 April 1945, targeting the oil refinery at Oranienburg, Germany. Shortly thereafter, Germany surrendered, and the 100th Bomb Group returned to the United States. The unit was deactivated in December of 1945, but its legacy lived on. In the years following the war, the 100th Bomb Group's reputation as the Bloody 100th became part of its lasting legacy. The group's sacrifices were memorialized through reunions, publications, and museums dedicated to preserving the history of the men who served. Thorpe Abbotts, the group's base in England, is now home to the 100th Bomb Group Memorial Museum, which honors the group's contributions to the war effort. The story of the 100th Bomb Group is one of tragedy, heroism, and resilience. The group's harrowing losses during missions such as those over Münster, Bremen, and Schweinfurt earned them the grim nickname, but it also became a symbol of their determination and sacrifice. Despite the overwhelming dangers, the men of the 100th continued to fly mission after mission, knowing the crucial role they played in the war. Their contributions to the strategic bombing campaign helped cripple Nazi Germany's ability to wage war, hastening the end to the conflict and securing the eventual Allied victory. Today, The Bloody 100th's legacy stands as a testament to the bravery and endurance of men who served in one of the most dangerous branches of the U.S. military during World War II. A military unit is only as good as the men who serve in it. For today's True Hero segment, I would like to talk about the commander of one of the 4 bomb squadrons of the 100th. His name was Gale Winston Cleven. Normally, I speak about Medal of Honor winners in this portion of the show, and while Cleven did not receive the Medal of Honor, he had been nominated for it, but it was downgraded to the Distinguished Flying Cross. Gale Winston Cleven, a highly decorated pilot and officer in the U.S. Army Air Forces, played a significant role in some of the most intense aerial operations of World War II. As a B-17 Flying Fortress pilot with the 100th Bomb Group, Cleven became a key figure in the strategic bombing campaign against Nazi Germany, including his involvement in the Regensburg shuttle mission. Later in the war, Cleven's service took a harrowing turn when he was shot down and became a POW, or prisoner of war. Cleven was part of the 8th Air Force, which was tasked with leading daylight precision bombing raids over Nazi-occupied Europe. The 100th Bomb Group, in which he served, became famously known as the Bloody 100th, as I just mentioned earlier, due to its high casualty rate, particularly in the early years of the air war. Cleven quickly rose through the ranks due to his leadership and skill, becoming the commanding officer of the 350th Bomb Squadron within this group. One of the most notable operations in which Cleven participated was the Regensburg shuttle mission on 17 August 1943. This mission was part of Operation Double Strike, a coordinated effort to strike critical targets deep within Germany. The Regensburg raid targeted the Messerschmitt aircraft factories, which were essential to the production of the Bf-109 fighter planes used by the Luftwaffe. Cleven was among the pilots who flew in this high-risk operation, navigating his B-17 through intense anti-aircraft fire and German fighter attacks. Despite these challenges, Cleven and his crew successfully bombed the Messerschmitt factory, contributing to the temporary disruption of German aircraft production. However, the mission did not end there. Unlike many bombing missions, the Regensburg raid involved a shuttle aspect, where Cleven and the other bombers did not return to England, but instead continued to bases in North Africa. This strategy aimed to avoid flying back over the heavily defended territory and reduce losses, although the mission still came at a high cost. Cleven's participation in this critical operation highlighted his courage and dedication to the Allied cause. Unfortunately, Cleven's luck ran out during a subsequent mission. On 8 October 1943, while flying a bombing raid over Bremen, Germany, his B-17 was shot down by enemy fighters. Cleven and his crew were forced to bail out of their aircraft and were captured by German forces, making him a POW for the remainder of the war. Cleven was held in Luftstalag III, a German POW camp that housed Allied airmen. This camp became infamous for the Great Escape in 1944, although Cleven did not participate in the escape attempt. His time as prisoner was marked by the harsh conditions and uncertainty faced by captured Allied personnel, but he survived until the war's end, when he was liberated by advancing Allied forces in 1945. After the war, Cleven's experiences as a combat pilot and POW earned him several commendations, including the Distinguished Flying Cross and Silver Star. His leadership in the face of overwhelming odds during the Regensburg mission and his perseverance as prisoner of war reflected the bravery and resilience of the men of the 8th Air Force. Cleven continued to serve in the Air Force after the war, retiring with the rank of colonel. Gale Winston Cleven's actions in World War II, particularly his role in the strategic bombing campaign and his experiences as a POW, represent the immense sacrifices made by American airmen during the conflict. His legacy is one of bravery, leadership, and commitment to the Allied victory over Nazi Germany. The dedication and sacrifice these men and women that I bring up during these True Heroes segments is inspiring. I really wish more and more people would recognize what a true hero is. Again, it's not some pop star or sports figure. It is someone who's willing to put their life on the line and risk everything for our way of life. This brings us to the end of another episode. I hope you enjoyed it and will come back and listen to future episodes. If you'd like to view the transcript or sources for the episode, click on the link in the description. You can also make suggestions for future topics by clicking that same link. Until next time, make some history of your own. Navigator out.